set difference means you can take difference between two set or more than two set. It will return you all the elements which are present in first set but not present in all the remaining set. Right? So it is going to return you all the elements which are present in first set but not present in all the remaining set. Like if you're writing A minus B, okay, so it will return all the elements of A but not in B. Okay, now for that they have given one operation called difference, or you can use operator also, that is minus operator only. Like for union there was OR operator, for intersection there was ampersand. So for difference they have already overloaded an operator called minus. Okay, like suppose S1 is one set, 10, 20, 30 suppose I'm writing, and S2 is another set like 20, 30, 40. So S3 equal to S1 dot difference this I created a list, no? All of you, it became a list because I wrote it in square bracket. I was supposed to create a set. So S1 dot difference S2. Now it will return you all the elements which are present in S1 but not in S2. So only 10 is there. 10 is present in S1 but not in S2. So if I write print S1, this is first set, second set, and when I print S3, so it will give you 10. And the same operation you can do it by overloaded operator minus. Using minus also the same behavior. Okay? Here by default what is getting called implicitly one dunder method, that is S1 dot double underscore sub double underscore. Getting S1 dot double underscore sub double underscore. S2 means this is for us. Like for us we use minus operator, but implicitly S1 gives call to its method double underscore sub double underscore, and S2 is passed as a parameter. The result you get is same. Okay? See. So set dot difference, the name of the method is difference, and you have to pass to it one or more set. You can pass one, minimum one, and one or more set. You can do it by overloaded minus operator also. Now what it is going to return, I told you, elements of set but which are not present in any of the set from 1 to 2, 1 till n. Clear? So all the elements of this set, invoker set, all the elements of this invoker set but present in that invoker set but not present in any of these set, so that it will return. See, the difference method returns a set that contains items that exist only in the first set and not in remaining set. This first set but not in any of the remaining one. And the same operation you can do it by an overloaded operator minus. Okay, just a quick example I've given. A equal to 10, 20, 30. This is one set, this is second set, and I'm writing C equal to A dot difference B. So A is the invoker and B is the parameter. A is the invoker set and B is the parameter set. Right? So it will return you all the elements which are present in A but not in B. So only 10 is there which is present in A but not in B. So that is coming here. And as I said, you can do it by operation difference or by overloaded operator minus by using this minus also you get the same result. Getting? Then we have symmetric difference. Now in case of symmetric difference, there are only two set. You cannot have more than two. Okay? And symmetric difference, normally they write this way, a sign, or in some books they give dot also above it. So symmetric difference means all the elements which are present in A but not in B, and the elements of B but not in A. Getting? Means it is actually A minus B union B minus A. ठीक है? तो सब A minus B, तो all the elements of A but not in B, and all the elements of B but not in A. ठीक है? तो union of A minus B and B minus A, total, that both union makes symmetric difference. Okay? So suppose your first set is containing 10, 20 and 30 suppose, and second set contains 20, 30 and 40 suppose. Okay? So when you do symmetric difference between A minus B, it will give A and 10 and 40. So 10 is present in A but not in B, and 40 is present in B but not in A. So they are union. Got it? No? Clear? I hope you got it. What is symmetric difference? Like this is your universal set. This is A suppose. Okay? And this is B. So this part, exclusively this part and this part's union, except this one. Getting? So you can say, or you can say A minus B union B minus A, or you can say like that, A union B, okay, minus A intersection B. Means whatever the union is, from that union if you remove intersection, you'll get the symmetric difference. Okay? And for that also there is a method like S3 equal to S1 dot symmetric difference. Okay? And you have to pass to it S2. Only one set can be passed, not more than one. So S1 dot symmetric difference S2. Now if you print and see S3, okay? If you print and see S3, so in S3 what will be present? 10 and 40. Clear? And same operation you can do it by, as I said, using one operator caret. I didn't mention it, but caret is used for symmetric difference. Like union operator overloaded is OR. For intersection overloaded operator is AND. So for symmetric difference the operator is minus. So, sorry, for difference. So for symmetric difference they have overloaded an operator caret sign, that is XOR. And after XOR operation also if you check, S3 will contain 40, 10. Getting? And here also implicitly overloaded operator is called, that is double underscore XOR double underscore. Getting? Means here dot, one magic method is called, right, called as XOR and S2. The same result you get. Getting? See. So ideally we use this thing, but implicitly this thing is done. So for us they have given a ease, okay, you can use this caret sign between these two, but internally this S1 is invoking this magic method and S2 is passed as a parameter. Okay? So symmetric difference you got. For symmetric difference only two sets are allowed. That is, one is the invoker set and one is the parameter. Or you can use this overloaded operator. Right? Okay. Now it will return you all the elements of set not in set 1 and all the elements of set 1 not in set. Get it? So present in set but not in set 1 and present in set 1 but not in set. Okay? So the symmetric difference method returns a set that contains all items from both set. but not the items that are present in both. Means it will return you the items of both, but not those which are present in both. Common one it won't give. Getting? So the return set contains a mix of items that are not present in both. Like present in set, not in set 1, and present in set 1 but not in set. Okay? And you can do symmetric difference operation using overloaded caret. Okay, quick example. A equal to, I have given here 10, 20, 30. B is 20, 30, 40. A dot symmetric difference B. A dot symmetric difference B. So it will give you 10 and 40, because 10 is in A but not in B, and 40 is present in B but not in A. And same operation you can do it by caret sign. Getting? Means the overloaded operator caret. Right? Okay, I hope till here it is clear to you. Is it? Then coming to some additional methods of okay, some additional methods are there of your set. Few in that. First three will just quickly see, and then next three I'll explain again. See. First is A dot is subset B. So this will just return true if A is a subset of B. And I hope you know what is subset. All the elements of A are present in B. Whenever in mathematical term we write A is a subset of B. Getting? We write like this: A subset of B. So all the elements of A are present in B. So you want to check whether one set is subset of other. So you can use is subset. Vice versa. Superset. A is superset of B. So other way, like B is present in A. Means when all the elements of B are present in A, so A becomes a superset. And if they don't have anything in common, nothing is in common, so is disjoint you can check. So if A and B don't have anything common, so is disjoint will return true. Get it? See, if your set is 10, 20 and 30, and another set is 20 and 10 suppose, and now you are checking whether A is subset of B. So A is not subset of B, therefore it gives false. But now if I change like this, कि B is subset of A, so yes, B is subset of A, therefore true come. Same way you can check whether A is superset, okay, of B. So yes, A is a superset of B. Why? Because every element of B is present in A. Get it? No? Superset normally when we say when one set belongs to another, like this is B set, and if all the elements of B are present in A, so A will be called as a superset because B is involved in it. Okay? So you got it. C. And if suppose I create one more set C, which is 50 and 60, and I want to check whether B and C are disjoint. So if B dot is disjoint C, so it will give you true because they don't have anything in common. So elements of B and elements of C, nothing are common. Therefore what will come? True will come. B disjoint C. Okay. So about this three, so you got it. Next what I want to say is, like, if you want to add elements of one set inside another, okay, so we have used one union method, right? But union returns you a new set. Like say we write C is equal to A union, and then we pass B, right? A dot union B. So it will create a new set in which elements of A and element of B both are present, and it returns a new set. It doesn't modify A. But if I want to update A itself, means these elements should get added in A like this. This effect I want. A is equal to A dot union B. Means union of A and B should take place, but the result should come back again in A. So for that they have given an equivalent method called A update B. You understanding? A update B, which is same as A or equal B. Or equal B means you got it. A is equal to A or B. Correct? A is equal to A or B. Shortcut you can write A or equal B. So it is going to take union of A and B and store the result in A only. So when you want to take union of two set, okay, and store the result in the first set only. Correct? Means this effect I want. So either you'll do A dot union B and then collect in A only, or there is a other option, A update B, A dot update B. It doesn't return anything. It will add everything of B in A only, which you can do by this way or you can do by this way. Get it? Now the same technique is for difference, intersection, symmetric difference. So like suppose I'll do like this, A dot intersection B. Now I want intersection of A with B, but the result should be again stored in A only. A and B's intersection. Okay, but whatever common come, that I don't want to store it in some third set, in the A set only. So either you do this way, or there is another option, A dot intersection update B you pass, which is same as A is equal to A ampersand B, which is same as A and equal B. I'm just trying to tell you all are equivalent. So A and B, when I write A and B, so it will take intersection and store the result in A only. So instead of doing this way, you can call this method intersection update. So it will take intersection of A and B. Okay, but the result it will store in A only. Same is the case for difference. So A difference B you will write. A difference B you will write, but the result you are collecting in A only. So if you want that result directly to be updated in A, so there is another easy option, A dot difference update, and pass B. Now you don't have to collect the result and store it in A again. It will do the change in A only. Difference of A and B is taken, A minus B. Okay? But the result is kept in A only, which is same as A equal to A minus B, or A minus equal B. Clear? And last is for symmetric difference. Now I want symmetric difference of A and B, A minus B and B minus A, but the result I want to keep in A only. Get it? So for that, instead of using A dot symmetric difference B and collect it in A, you can call symmetric difference update. Okay? Which is same as A equal to A XOR B, or A XOR equal B. Okay? So symmetric difference update. So I hope you got it what these methods do. So all are just going to affect the invoker. It doesn't return any new set. Only that is the difference. Okay? See, quickly I'll tell you. 10, 20, 30 we have, and B equal to 20, 30, 40. So if I write a dot update b, so it will take the union of a and b, but the result is stored in a only. If you print and see a, it will be union of a and b. Is it 10, 20, 30? Got it or no? So if instead of update I would have called union, so union will not affect a, it will return a new set. You understanding or no? I hope you're understanding. Like a dot union b if I write, so it will return you a new set which is union of both. Here it doesn't return a new set, it updates a only. Okay? Same is the case for the other operations. Like union is there, so intersection is there. So a dot intersection update if I write. So now it will take the intersection of both, but the result it will store in a only. Check. If I print a, you'll get the common of both, that is 20 and 30. Getting? Same mechanism for difference. A dot difference update and pass b. So now here what will happen? It will take the difference of a and b, but the result it will store in a only. So what is the difference of a, b? 10. And that difference it will store in a only. Okay? That is 10. Can you see? Okay? And I hope it is clear. The last one quickly I'll tell you. A dot symmetric difference update. Now in this case it will do a minus b and b minus a and their union. A minus b and b minus a and their union. But the answer whatever come, it doesn't return, it will update in a only. Check. Your a, if you check, so it will contain 10 and 40. Okay? So hope these additional methods are also clear. Intersection update, difference update and symmetric difference update. Only what is the difference? I hope you got it. They do normal intersection, difference, symmetric difference, but they are not returning a new set. They are updating that in A only. Okay? So if this is clear, then we can move on with the next data structure. Okay? Is it right? All of you, yesterday you both of you didn't join. You could have informed.
Yeah, I was suffering from fever yesterday.
Okay. She Avanti also didn't join. And we were waiting like you both will join. So till 7:45.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'll inform next time.
And what happens is like number of members are less. If number of
Yeah.
members are more, no, actually it doesn't make any difference. Because if 50% student come, I start like. No issues, but just give one intimation so that I can inform him also, na, like Akshay also.
Sure. Sorry for that.
What happens is numbers are you very less count, na, that's why. Like if there are 10-15 students, the normally doesn't make difference one or two because recording is there. I keep sending. As the count is less, then for single person teaching it becomes difficult. Anyways, we'll continue. Now we'll start with the next data structure, that is dictionary. Okay, this is the fourth data structure. So till now we have covered list, tuple and set. I hope the differences are clear to you. Like list and tuple are nearly same internally. They both are ordered. Okay, they both are in a sequence and they can be accessed based on the index. Only with one difference, list is mutable, that is changeable, and tuple is immutable. You cannot change. That is the basic difference. But internal storage both are same. And set, only the difference is the order is unpredicted. And as the order is unpredicted, you cannot do operation like square operation, subscript operation, and through index you cannot access it. Okay? Now coming to the next data structure, that is dictionary. Right? Now dictionary is collection of key value pairs. Means every element in the dictionary is a pair, and that pair is key and value. Means every element will have a key and a value, key and a value. Okay, and the keys are distinct. All the keys are distinct in your set. In your dictionary. Values can be repeated, but the keys are always distinct. Right? Then how to create a dictionary and all, I'll tell you. Best common example of dictionary is our English dictionary only. It is also key value pair. Key means the word and the value is the meaning of that word. Word and the meaning. Getting? The word will be the key. All the words are unique and it will have meaning. So that will be the value. Getting? Many examples you can take here. Okay? Lot of examples are there where the situation of we can say year and the sale, or year and the population. Okay? Many examples you can give, like state and the state and the CM of that state. Okay, state and the governor of the state. So many examples are there where you can relate it with key and the value. Okay, so the states are unique. So the state name will become the key and the name of the governor will become the value. Value can repeat, but keys are distinct. So first, basic definition. And dictionary also you can access using square bracket. But in the square bracket we don't use index, instead we'll use key. So in the dictionary also the elements can be accessed using subscript notation. Subscript means that square notation. Okay? But in that square notation will not use index, instead we'll be using key. Okay? Now how to create dictionary and all, I'll tell you. So dictionary is an unordered changeable. You can modify, means you can add new keys, you can delete any existing keys, you can delete, you can add new keys in it. So changeable it is. Clear? Then it is indexed collection. Indexed why? Because you can access the elements by mentioning the key, and if you give key in the square bracket it will give value associated with that key. Okay, now we'll see how to create dictionary. So creating dictionary is very simple. You just have to list out all the elements. Okay, you have to list out all the elements in a pair of brace packets, same like set, but every element is a key value, so you have to separate it by a colon sign. See, D equal to, and suppose I've created a dictionary X Y 20 Z 30. Okay, dictionary created. If you print and see this, okay, now actually in Python 2 dictionary the order was unpredicted, but now in Python 3 the order is same. According to the sequence in which you have kept, the same order is maintained. Okay? Here the dictionary is created, and if you check its type, it will show that it's the object of class dictionary. See, class dict. Now whenever you create a empty dictionary, open brace, close brace, so many have a confusion whether it will be treated as an empty set or whether it will be treated as an empty dictionary. So by default it treats it as a dictionary, because for both the notation is same. For set also the notation is same, and for dictionary also the notation is same, that is pair of brace bracket. So default it treats it as a dictionary, not set. See, if you check its type, it will give class dictionary, not set. So if you want to create an empty set, then you have to cast this empty dictionary to a set. See, and now if you check its type, now it will give class set and you print this dictionary, it will print an empty set. See. So only the difference what I said, that is clear. By default, for both the dictionary and the set, both we use brace bracket notation only to create a dictionary. But the question comes when it is a empty, how it differentiates. So when I write just open brace, close brace, default it treats it as a dictionary, not as a set. Okay? You got it. So how to create a dictionary? As I said, write all the key value pairs in a enlist all the key value pairs in curly brackets, that is open brace, close brace, and inside that you can list out what all your key value separated by colon, key colon value, comma, key colon value. Okay, example I have given. See, info equal to, this is one dictionary, name, age, salary, these are the keys and these are the values. When we print it, now here it is shown unpredicted, but now in Python 3 you get it in a same order, the order in which you store it, name, age and salary. Okay? Print info. Now when I check type of info, so it will give class dictionary. See, class dictionary. Okay? And when we create an empty dictionary, so confusion whether it will be treated as a set or as a dictionary, so it is by default a dictionary. Okay, I hope it is clear. Okay, now next we'll see how to access items from the dictionary. So to access items from the dictionary, very easy, name of the dictionary and square bracket key, it will give you value for it. Okay, simple technique is there. Okay, suppose I am creating this dictionary and I want to access value. So you can write like this, D of key. So that's what I said. Dictionary is also indexed. Indexing means this square bracket we use. This subscript sign when we are allowed to use, then we'll say it is indexed. But inside we use the keys. So this square notation is applicable on tuple also. Square notation is applicable on list also, not on set, but on dictionary it is allowed. So D of Y when I write, it will give 20. Okay? D of T when I write, it will give a key error. Key error. That T is absent. There is another provision also. Instead of using this square operator, index operator, you can use one method called get. So dictionary is having one method called get, and to that you will pass the key. Okay? So D dot get of Y. D dot get of Y. So it returns 20. Okay? Here also D dot get of T when I'll write. So it returns none instead of error. Only that is the difference. Means that's what I wanted to tell you. Okay, in case of absent, when you use square, it generates an exception, that is key error. And the difference is in case of get, when the key is absent, it returns none. Clear? So that is just the difference between get. Okay, hope it is clear. Now suppose you don't want this none, you want some other message. Whenever the key is absent, when it is present it will not use, but if it is absent and you want some message, so that default value you can give here. This is the default value, but when it will return this default value, when this key is absent. See, now instead of none, it will return this default value. If it's present, no issue, it will not use that. Like x is present, so it will return 10. Okay, but when I'm using something which is absent, okay, now get of P when I'm writing, and P is absent in the dictionary, so now it will use this default value. If you have given, if you haven't given this default value, it will return none. And if the key is absent and you're trying to access using square, So that time it directly generates a exception only called key error. Okay, I hope clear to you. So any way you can use. So to access dictionary item, use dictionary name followed by key in the pair of square bracket. So your dictionary object square bracket, and within the square bracket give key, it will return you value. And there is another provision also by using one method called get. And to get method, you will pass the key and it will return the value of it. Only the difference between subscript notation, that is index notation, and get method, if key is absent and if you are accessing using square bracket, it will throw an exception, key error. Okay, but which it doesn't do it for get. In case of get, if the key is absent, it will return none default, and if you have given some value, okay, and that value to be used when the key is absent. Okay, so that is called as a default value. So you can also access dictionary item using get bracket key. See, example, this is the dictionary. Info of name when I'm writing, so it will return my name, and info dot get of name, the same thing. Okay, same provision is there, right? Then coming to the next thing, that is changing value of dictionary item. So you can change it directly by assigning. Very simple. Dictionary square bracket key equal to new value. Okay, that simple it is. So this is our dictionary. We are printing this dictionary. And suppose I want to change the value of y. So you can very simple write d of key equal to value. That easy syntax they have given. D of key equal to value. So that dictionary object square bracket key equal to new value. Okay? See. So d of y equal to 200. Okay? D of x equal to Ram. And now if you print and see the dictionary, the value of y from 20 it has become 200. Value of x from 10 it has become Ram. See, value of 10 has become Ram. Value of 20 has become 200. Getting? Now some may ask, like, if I give such key which is absent, like d of t equal to and Sita if I write, so what will happen? So no error, it will add this as a new element in your dictionary. Means within the dictionary one new key t is added with the value Sita. Okay? Print and see. One more key t has got added. That simple it is. Okay? See. So to change the value of a specific item, okay, any value of any specific key, just very simple syntax it is, dictionary object square bracket key equal to value. See, dictionary object square bracket key equal to value. Only thing is, if the key is present, then its old value will be replaced with this new value. But if the key is absent, it will add it as a new key value in your dictionary. Okay? See, now this is our dictionary. Info of name equal to Ram. So this value will be replaced with this new value. Okay, now if you print and see the dictionary, there the value of name is changed. Now in Python 3, okay, if you print a dictionary, you will not get such unpredicted order, you will get a normal order only. Order in which you have added. There is name, age and salary. Okay? Now I hope you got it. The concept is clear, right? Changing. So just tell me, then we'll come to traversing dictionary. Now traversing dictionary is having lot of combinations. All will be learning one by one. Right? Just give me confirmation.
Yep.
Okay. So basic
Yes.
dictionary creation, you got it. How to create a dictionary. Then you got it how to access the value by using either get method or by dictionary object square bracket key, and how to change it by assigning dictionary object square bracket key equal to new value. Okay. Now traversing dictionary. What all different ways are there? That I'll tell you. See. So we'll create. Now we have already this dictionary only. I'll take this as the sample dictionary. Okay. Now if you want to traverse it, so as like in case of set or in case of tuple or in case of list, we have used a for loop, right, for traversing. You can use similar for loop for dictionary also, because dictionary is also an iterable object. Okay. So as dictionary is also an iterable object, you can use normal standard Python for loop to traverse dictionary, right, as like you're traversing a list or a tuple. Okay. So you can use for loop like this. So for x or a in d, it's a temporary variable, or I'm creating temp in d. But what happens is, what does come in temp? So in temp only keys come, value don't come. If you want value, then what to do, that too I'll tell you. So for temp in d, so it is going to fetch temporary values one by one keys in the temporary value, that I wanted to say. So from the dictionary, what are fetched? The keys, and they come in temp, like x, then y, then z, then t. Okay. So suppose if I write print x, comma, and d of x me temp and d of temp. So it will print the key and the value of it. Okay. See. So what has happened for temp in d. So after every iteration, what will get copied in temp? Only the keys. After every iteration from d, what will come in temp? Only the keys, that is x, then y, then z, then t. Okay. And we are just using dictionary object square bracket that temp, in which the keys have come. So d of x, d of y, d of z, d of t. Getting? See. Okay. So what is coming in temp, I hope you got it. For every iteration in temp, it will return this key. So x will come, then y, then z, then t. So we are printing that x or y or z or t. And here we are printing d of temp. That is d of x, d of y, d of z, d of t. Okay. Now there is another provision also. So here what we did, I hope it is clear. Yes, guys.
Yep.
Okay. Now there is another provision also. There are some methods of your dictionary class. Means dictionary class is having some method that you can use. Methods like d dot keys also are present. D dot keys. Okay. See, if I write d dot keys, what it does is it returns you one iterable in which only keys of your dictionary are there. Hear carefully. Yeah? From your dictionary, all the keys like x, then y, then z, then t. So all the keys of your dictionary are coming in this keys object. Now you'll say that keys is of what type? So it is of type dict keys. Dict keys is also a name of a class in Python, and it is also an iterable object. As it is an iterable object, you can use it in a for loop. Okay? See, if you check the type of that keys object, it will show that it's the object of class dict keys. See, class dict keys. So what does that d dot keys does? d dot keys. So it returns you all the keys of your dictionary. All the keys of your dictionary, X, Y, Z, T. But all that keys come in this keys object. Okay, and keys is an object of class dict keys. Understanding? Clear? So d dot keys will return you all the keys of your dictionary, and that object will be an object of class dict keys. But dict keys is also coming under category. Dict keys is also coming under category iterable. So you can use this object in a for loop for traversing. See, if I write for k in keys, right, and I'm writing print k and d dot get of k. Can I use get method also? Now someone may say, okay, instead of writing d dot get of k, can we write d of k? 100% valid. Same, d of k or d dot get of k. Right? Hope it is clear. Same, output is same. Only I wanted to tell that this keys method is also present, and keys returns you one collection of all the keys in that dictionary. So all the keys which are present in the dictionary, they all come here in the keys, and that keys is an object of class dict keys. Keys is dict keys. Is it right? And dict keys is also an iterable object. So now instead of collecting that, can I directly use that d dot keys in place of keys object? Here only can I write dict d dot keys. Valid. No issues. You understanding, no? Okay? Why? Because d dot keys is going to return you one iterable object. Here, what will come in place of d dot keys? This thing, an iterable object of class dict keys will come. And then can I use that dict keys class object over here in for loop? It is allowed because it is an iterable object. Is it an iterable object? Yes. Okay? See. Okay, so this provision also is there. Then there is one more method called d dot values. Okay, d dot values. Like keys, this method will return you all the values in your dictionary. As many values are there, all that values it will return in the dictionary, in this vals object. But that vals is also again what? A iterable object of the class dict values. See, print type of vals. It will show that it's an object of class dict vals. Dict values. Okay? See, class dict values. But as I said, like it is also which object? It's an object of class dict value, but dict values also come under which category? Iterable category. Therefore, you can use it in a for loop like this. For v in vals. And if I print v, only values will be printed. Clear? And instead of vals, can I directly call here d dot values? Is 100% valid. Why? Because d dot values is going to return you one iterable object of the class dict values. This d dot values will return you one iterable object of class dict values, and dict values is a iterable object, therefore we can use it in a for loop. Clear? See. Okay, I hope it is clear. Next.
Yes.
Okay, Now next there is one more provision given, right? See, now the third provision is it returns you all the key value pairs also, called as d dot items. Okay, so as we have method d dot keys, which we saw previously, see, d dot keys returns all the keys as a iterable object. This is one iterable object in which all the keys are there, and it's an object of class dict keys. Second, here d dot values returns what? D dot values returns an object of class dict values. It is also an iterable object. And third, d dot items. D dot items. It will return you all key value pairs in a tuple form. Key and a value. One. Another key and a value. Getting key and a value. And this way it returns one iterable object which is of class dict items. If you check it, see, print type of items. It will show you it is an object of class dict items. But dict items is also what? An iterable object. If you print and see this items, you'll come to know. See, just now I showed you, no? It returns one iterable object which is of class dict item, and in that pairs are there. Key value, key value, key value, key value. And now as it is an iterable object, you can use it in a for loop. See, for x comma y in items. Now you'll say why x comma y? Because in this items object, that items is an object of class dict items. D dot items returned you one object of class dict items, right? And then that dict items, when you use in a for loop, every time it will keep returning this one tuple. One tuple is returned. Next time again a tuple is returned. Next time again a tuple is returned. Next time again a tuple is returned. Getting? And then that tuple we are unpacking in x and y. You understanding? At a time one tuple. At a time one tuple. Okay. So as it is every time returning this one tuple, that one tuple is getting unpacked between x and y. Unpacked means you got one value will go in x and another value will go in y. Okay? So you can, instead of xy, you can use kv to indicate it is key and value. And print and see. Okay? So in the for loop, first time one tuple will come. That one tuple is unpacked in kv. So in k, x will go, and in v, ram will go. That we are printing. See. Next time, next tuple will come. That tuple is unpacked between k and v. Okay? So now, instead of collecting that iterable object of class dict item, you can use directly also here. Okay? Here only you can write d dot items. Okay? Always remember d dot items return one, d dot items returns one iterable object of the class dict items. Here a object of class dict items is returned, and then that object we use in a for loop to fetch one by one pairs. Now one pair will come, second pair, third pair, fourth pair, but each pair which is getting fetched, clear, that each pair which is getting fetched is getting unpacked between k and v. Okay, k and v. Next time k and v. Next time k and v. So that values are getting unpacked between your key and value. Right? Got it. So these are the different ways of traversing dictionary. Okay. So quickly we'll just go through all these ways. Right? So there are methods like dictionary object dot items. It returns an object of class dict items. Okay. D dot values returns an object of class dict values. and d dot keys returns the object of class dict keys. But dict keys, dict items and dict values, all three are iterable class. So as they are iterable, we can use it in a for loop. ठीक है? So all this traversing technique quickly we'll discuss. Now you can loop through a dictionary by using a for loop, normal for loop. So this is your dictionary, okay, and I want to display all the key names in the dictionary one by one, like name, age, salary. So normal for loop you can use for k in your dictionary object, because when you use a dictionary in a for loop, it will just keep returning the keys. So first time it will return name, then age, then salary. Okay. Now print all the values in the dictionary one by one. I want to print the values. So ways are there, as I said. If you want to print value, use this for loop only, for k in info, which will give you each keys from it, and then that key you can use as a parameter to get method, like info.get of k, or you can write info square bracket k and access the value. See, for k in info. So when you use this dictionary in a for loop, it will keep returning one by one key, name, then age, then salary, and then while printing info of name, info of age, info of salary. Okay? Other provision is there. Directly if you want values, so this is one way by which we can display value. There is another way, info.values. Info.values also returns what? One iterable object, and that iterable object is of class dict values. It will return you one iterable object of class dict values, and from that dict values you can fetch one by one value and print it. Or third way, here you can call info.keys. So it will return you one object of class dict keys. Info.keys will return you one object of class dict keys, but dict keys is also iterable in which all the keys are present. So one by one you can fetch the keys, and here you can write info of key. Okay, and suppose you want both at a time, key also and value also, right? So for that also there is a provision, print keys and values in the dictionary one by one using items method. Items return again an iterable object of class dict items. Please understand. Info.values returns an object of dict values. This returns an object of class dict keys, but dict keys, dict values and dict items all are iterable object. Okay, see, if I write it in a for loop, for k comma v in info.items, info.items. So now info.items is going to return you info.items. Is it going to return you one iterable object of class dict items, and in which there are tuples, key value, key value, key value. See, this way. This way. So this type of iterable object with key value, who returns dot items, and this is actually an object of dict items, but dict item is also a iterable class, right? So as it's a iterable class, you can use it in a for loop. So will it one by one fetch one tuple, and that one tuple is getting unpacked, okay, in k and v. Okay, so in k and v, what is coming? The unpacked value of one tuple at a time, and that you are displaying. Okay, hope it is clear. So all the ways are clear to you, traversing ways?
Yes.
Sure. Okay, then coming to the next thing, like searching, deleting and all. So all that also quickly we'll discuss. Now if you want to check whether a key is present in the dictionary or not, then same like tuple, list and set, here also you can use in operator in, called as membership operator, and that membership operator checks whether key is present in the dictionary or not. Okay, see, we'll take this example. This is our dictionary. Now if I write print y in D, you have to write. So you are checking whether y is present in D or no. So yes, there is a key with the name y. So it will return you true. Okay? If suppose here I write P, so there is no key P in D. There is in the dictionary D, there is no key with the name P. Therefore it will return false. That simple it is. Okay? So to determine if a specified key is present in dictionary, use the in keyword. Okay, suppose this is your dictionary and I am checking age in info. So there is a key with the name age, therefore true will come. If I check wife in info, so in this dictionary there is no key wife, therefore it returns false. Okay. Then you want to find out how many elements are there in the dictionary, or in short, how many key value pairs are there. Same again like list, tuple and set. Here also there is a built-in function called len, built-in function len, which returns the number of key value pairs in the dictionary. Okay, like in this case I write len of D. So how many key value pairs are there in the dictionary? 4. So it will return you 4. Okay, see. So to determine how many items a dictionary has, use len built-in function. Example, this is again my standard dictionary, and on this if I write len of info, that is length of info, it will return 3, because in this there are 3 elements or 3 key value pairs. And dictionary is important, like if you're planning for data science, machine learning, so there you'll be learning NumPy, Pandas and all. Those are all libraries provided for analytics. So their dictionary is very common. List and dictionary, there you have to create it. Okay, it is by default, automatically there you have to make use of this dictionary. Okay. Then removing item from dictionary. So what are different ways of removing item from dictionary? So many ways are there. One is pop method, pop item is there, then del also is there. Using del also you can delete an element from dictionary. Okay? So first easy method is pop. So to pop you have to give a key, pop, and pass a key. It will return the value of that key and it will also remove it from your dictionary. So one is pop method, next is pop item, then using del also you can do it. Okay, all one by one we'll see. First is the pop method. Like in case of list also we have used pop method. I'm sure you remember it. In case of list also we have used pop. But there we were giving index and it used to delete an element at that index and return the old element. That is the deleted element. So exact same, but instead of index we are passing key. So the pop method removes the item with the specified key name. Okay? And when it deletes that item, it returns its value. So returns value of the key which is removed. Okay? And if the key is absent, it will generate an error called key error if key is not present in the dictionary. Okay? Example again. We'll take this dictionary only. This is my dictionary and I'm writing d.pop y. it will return 200 and it is removed. Now you can print and see that key y is gone. Okay, and now if I again write t dot pop y, it will throw an error because now there is no key with the name y. Okay, so is there any key y in the dictionary existing? No, so it will return error. It will generate an error, key error y. Agreed? Now there is one more method, okay, called as pop item. Pop item is also there, so that too I'll tell you. Okay, in this example, info.pop age. So as age is present, it will delete it, return 43 to you. If you check your dictionary, in that age won't be there now. And if I write info.pop wife, there is no key only with the name wife, it will generate an key error. Okay, got it. Now there is another method called pop item. Now to pop item, you don't have to mention to whom to delete. It will always remove the last item, and the item which is removed, it will return it as a tuple in the key value pair form. Getting? In the form of key comma value. See, now again if you want, I'll create this dictionary. Okay, and I'm writing d dot pop item. Nothing is to be passed, and by default it will remove the last item, and the last item which is deleted, it returns it as a tuple in the form of key comma value. See, it returns a tuple. Okay, dot pop item, the last item is deleted and it returns it as a tuple. If you print and see D, in that T40 won't be there. Again, if I write D dot pop item, now it has deleted again the last item. And if you check your dictionary, Z is not there. Okay? Hope pop item is also clear to you. Right? Pop item always deletes the last item and returns the deleted item as a key value pair. See, the pop item method removes the last item, returns the removed item as a tuple in the form of key comma value. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. See, in this example I'll show you. Now this is our dictionary and I'm writing info.pop item. So who is the last item in the dictionary? Salary. So that as a tuple it is returning. Now using del also you can do. Maybe on the slide I have shown, not shown, but I'll just tell you. Okay, using del statement also you can delete. Only as del is a statement, it's a language construct. It doesn't return anything. So d of y, if I write, and del before it, del d of y, which we have done it in case of list. In case of list also we have used this del statement. Del list object square bracket index. Here in square bracket key. It's deleted. Now if you check your dictionary, this y won't be there. Getting? That y element is gone. So that provision is there. Here also d of y, now if I do, it will generate a key error because now already it is deleted, and now again if you try to delete, it will give a error. See, key error. Okay? Then the del keyword removes the item with the specified key name. So I said, like, maybe on the slide I have not shown, but I have given it. So using del keyword also you can do it. See, del info of age. Okay, Complete dictionary you want to destroy, del and the name of the dictionary, and check your dictionary, it will be empty. Okay, now it will be empty nahi, the dictionary is destroyed, no? Yes or no? Del D, so your dictionary only is destroyed. So when you try to print it, it generates a name error because it says now name D is not present in the symbol table because you have deleted it. Okay? See, del info. And to remove only the key value pair, the dictionary will exist. Dictionary won't get deleted. Only the key value pairs within the dictionary will go. So for that there is a clear method. Okay, see, d dot clear, and now if I say print d, it will show you as a empty list. Okay, d dot clear print d, does it show as an empty list? Empty list नहीं, empty dictionary, sorry. ठीक है, तो clear method removes all the items from the dictionary, that is makes dictionary empty. Okay, then similar creating a clone of your dictionary, which we have discussed in case of list also. I am sure in case of list also I have told you, right? In case of list, when I said like when you assign one list to another, so ideally two lists are not created, only the reference is copied. Same concept, I'm sure in case of list I have told you. Suppose this is your dictionary, and when you assign it to another, D2 equal to D1, so D2 is not going to get created as a new dictionary. Means a separate memory is not allocated in which the same key values of D1 are present. Means whatever key values are there in D1, the same key values are not coming in D2. Only the reference is copied. Okay, so if you print and see both the dictionary, it will be same. And if you print and see their addresses, that itself will prove that they are one and the same thing. See, do they have exactly same address? So this proves what? That when you assign one dictionary object to another, so actually a copy or a clone is not created, only the reference is copied. So if I add D1 of Z equal to 30, so that thing will be seen to D2 also if you print and see. Both are seeing Z. Or if I write D2 of Y equal to 200, so Y value is changed to 200, but that is seen here also because they are not actually two different objects. They are just two references referring to the same memory. Means you can say they are the two names given for the same memory object. Object is one and there are two names and you can access them both by any of the way. So now see, D of Y 200 I did, so change will be seen to D1 also. And change will be seen to D1. Why? Because actually they are not different, they are one and the same thing. Getting? So now we don't want like that. I want a proper duplicate should get created. And if I make now later change in one, the other is not affected. And if I do change in other, the first one is not affected. And for that what they have given? Copy method. Okay? So this is your original dictionary. Now if I write D2 equal to D1 dot copy. Now copy method will return a clone, duplicate of D1, separate memory allocated. It allocates separate memory, and in that separate memory the key value pairs will be same initially, but the memory will be different. I'll prove it. See, D1, D2, both dictionaries same initially. Okay? But if you print their addresses, how to print address, I hope you know it. We have discussed in very first chapter. ID function is given. Okay? D2. Now, can you see both are having same address or different address? They are having different address. They don't have same address. As the address itself is different, it proves that when we create a copy, what is created? The reference is not returned. It allocates completely new memory. Okay, and in that new object, the content of D1 is kept and the address of that new object is returned. And changes if you do in any one, it won't affect the other. Like here I am adding Z equal to 30 in D1. But when I try to print it, okay, change will be in D1, not in D2. Okay, and if you are making any change in D2, the change is seen only in D2, not in D. Right? Okay, I hope it is clear. And using copy method is one way, or by using dictionary constructor also. Suppose this is your dictionary, so you can write D2 equal to dict of D1. It's a constructor. Actually, we call it as a ideally it is a constructor of class dict, because dict is the class name and it is a constructor of it. So it allocates memory, okay, calls the constructor initializes values of D1 in that new object, and the new object reference comes. Here also when you'll see address, the address is not same. Getting? Addresses of both the objects are different. Okay? As the address are different, obviously independently you can change them. If you make change in one dictionary, the effect are not seen in second. If you make change in second dictionary, the effect are not seen first. Okay? So simply assigning dict1 to dict2 won't create copy of dict1. Only reference will be copied. Getting? Only the references are copied. So in that situation, what happens? Memory objects are not two. In memory, the object is one, but there are two names to the same object. Means both are referring to the same memory location. So dict1 and dict2 both will refer to same. Changes made to dict1 will be reflected in dict2 and vice versa. Okay? See, this is your dictionary. You print and see, it will display it. When you assign A to B, okay, and after that you print B, it will also show same thing. When you print the address, it is exactly same. This proves when you assign one dictionary to another, only the reference is assigned. And when I store T in A and print A, so in A you'll see T, but in B also there will be T. Okay, or through B I am changing value of Y. Okay, so changes will be seen in X and Y both. Only Y is not changed. See, X also. Because actually they are not different. They are one and the same thing. Okay, so you access that house by any key. We are having more than one keys of the same house. That way you can see. So instead of doing copying the reference, if you want the exact duplicate of it, then there is a method called copy. Copy is a method of dictionary class. So d.copy. See, copy method will return clone, the duplicate of the dictionary which is invoking. Who is invoking D? So D's duplicate will be returned. Okay? See, this is A dictionary. When I write B equal to A dot copy, the duplicate of A is created and the reference of that duplicate comes in B. You print AB, both dictionaries same, but when you print their address, they are different. This proves that when the addresses printed are different, this proves that copy method is not returning only the reference. It's creating a clone and then returning the reference of that clone. Getting? And now when I add one key T in A, it is only in A, not in B. See, the T is only in A, not in. And you can do the same activity using the constructor function. It's actually You can also call it as a casting function or constructor function. Okay. So dict built-in method returns copy, that is the clone of dictionary D. Same activity it does. Okay. Only here copy method A invokes, whereas here it is implicitly invoking, because dictionary, this is a constructor of class dictionary. So that magic method will get called. So A is passed and the copy of A is coming in B. Okay. So when you print A and B, initially same. When you print and see their address, they are different. This proves that the dict constructor built-in function has created a duplicate and it has returned. Okay? Hope it is clear. Then quickly, just one method is there called update, that I'll just tell you so that this dictionary part will get over. Update is used for adding elements of one dictionary in another dictionary. That's all. Not that complicated concept. Like we already have one dictionary. Then if suppose I'm having dictionary 2 with Y 30 and Z 40, and when I write d1 dot update d2, this update method just now for set also we have seen the same application. So it will add all the key value pairs of d2 in d1, key value pairs of d2 in d1. But if d1 is already having that key, so the new value is replaced. See, now d1 is having x10 y20, but d2 is also having y30, so it will just replace this 30 over here, and z40 was not there, so that will get added. Now print and see d1, you will see x10 y30 and z40, because when you were adding d2 in d1, so d1 was already having y, so only its value is replaced over there. In place of 20, 30 is replaced. Clear? Okay, got it. So all the items of dictionary D2 in D1 are added. Okay, and this explanation I have given, that if keys of D2 are already present in D1, then replace value of D1 by value of D2. Already if there are some keys of D2 which are present in D1, so that key's value is replaced with this new value. Okay, this is A, this is B, you're printing AB, then you're writing A update B. So all this key value will get added here. So Y will get added, but Y is already there, so 20 is replaced by 30, and then Z is also added.